This video will cover how a nonprofit organization like yours can use logic model heat mapping. Heat mapping is an exercise that can benefit any organization that has a logic model. Heat mapping is used to visually demonstrate where a group is most active with regard to its stated activities and goals. For example, imagine you're a farmer whose goal is to provide a balanced meal for your family. You haven't clearly articulated how to pursue that goal, but you suspect that if you go out and farm, that will lead to results. So you go out in the field and you farm all day. You plant your seeds, water your plants, and harvest the crops. You bring home food so your family can have a balanced meal. And then you realize all you have is onions. You focused all your energy in one area of the field. Don't get me wrong, onions are great, but your family can't survive solely on onions. Similar to the farmer working to reach his goal, you want your nonprofit to use its resources in a way that will most efficiently reach your mission. Your group can achieve greater clarity of purpose and improve your efficiency through logic model heat mapping. Here we have an example of a nonprofit's logic model. No need to get bogged down in the details. In short, it's a logic model for a group who engages in after-school programs that provide students with academic support, social and emotional support, and organized time with creative visual arts. Let's pretend this is your organization. Your group envisions multiple outcomes from its work. They include kids' academic outcomes, social emotional outcomes like confidence and decreased stress, and artistic outcomes as a result of art lessons and a mural project. Your nonprofit administers a group of 11 different programs. We were able to tag each program to components in the model. For example, one program focused on an end-of-semester mural project. We tagged the program to that component in the model. Documents also showed the program aspired to achieve a more beautiful community as a result of the mural project. Therefore, we tagged the program to that component, and so on and so forth. After tagging all the programs, we tallied up the number associated with each logic model component. You can see that all of the 11 programs engaged in tutoring. 2 of the 11 offered emotion management lessons. We did this tallying exercise for each model component. You get the idea. We also needed to come up with a key for the heat mapping. We needed to create a key in which the ranges represented were meaningful. The ranges shown here seemed most appropriate. We started with a light shade for lower values. If only 3 or 4 programs were tagged to a component, that number corresponded to very light shading. If as many as 11 programs corresponded to a component, we shaded that the darkest blue. Then we used our tagging and color-coded key to fill in the model with the right values. Here you can see darker components are places where your group put a lot of work and also expected to see a great degree of outcomes. Lighter components are places where your group placed little emphasis and did not appear to expect a great deal of outcomes. What trends stand out to you? Look for trends that are particularly light or particularly dark. What does that say about your nonprofit's work? Are you missing any key programming components? Here, your organization appears to emphasize academic and arts programming. In turn, your group is expecting outcomes in participants like improved academic outcomes and arts outcomes. On the other hand, you appear to be providing comparatively little social and emotional support. Only one program offers counseling for participants. This finding could mean your group is not investing heavily in social and emotional outcomes and should update your mission and logic model accordingly. Alternatively, this type of programming could represent a legacy program. Even though you're not currently investing in it heavily, it still may have a place on the model. While heat mapping, you may identify components that are not currently in the model, but should be. Here are a number of programs' expected outcomes in confidence, volunteerism, and the pursuit of advanced degrees. This finding may warrant a discussion of whether those outcomes belong in the organizational model. Set aside a space in the model to track the components, revisit them in future discussions, and consider amending the model. This step may really facilitate the continued refinement of your group's outcome goals. That was a quick demonstration of how to use logic model heat mapping to achieve greater clarity of purpose for an organization. Now let's walk through the benefits of heat mapping. Heat mapping clarifies your organization's mission and activities. You saw the heat map quantify exactly which activities were being conducted and how they line up with your mission. Heat mapping facilitates strategy conversations. Groups can use findings here to speak about why certain areas show more heat and others don't. Through these conversations, your group can make more informed programmatic or investment decisions. Finally, heat mapping is tallied based entirely off of program descriptions or other supporting documents. These heat maps are entirely rooted in what your organization says it's doing or plans to do. There are a few other important things you should consider when you conduct logic model heat mapping for your group. Heat mapping does not account for dosage. If a program has really intensive lessons where participants attend every day, it still only counts as one occurrence despite it being so high touch. The opposite is also true. If a program has a very low touch activity, it may appear overinflated. All of this means you should be very intentional with your chosen unit of analysis. Components not already on the logic model require special handling. This exercise will not count activities or intended outcomes that aren't included on the logic model. As shown earlier, if certain components not tallied in the model deserve attention, you may choose to track them. Finally, heat mapping relies on the clarity of each program's description. This is the other side of the coin from the benefit mentioned earlier. Since numbers are tallied entirely based off how a program is described, they're only as accurate as program descriptions. They cannot account for additional information the program isn't reporting or doesn't know is relevant. When it comes to logic model heat mapping, we're just warming up. The applications of heat mapping are only bound by your imagination. They can be used by foundations, nonprofits, and coalitions alike. You may heat map based on program activities, percent of organizational budget, program age, hours per week the program is administered, or a variety of other variables. In all these examples, the heat map helps you quantify where the most effort or resources are being directed. The key is that heat mapping is used to visually demonstrate where a group is most active with regard to its stated activities and goals. We hope this video has inspired you to make a logic model heat map. You might also be interested in the other episodes in this series on logic model heat mapping for funding organizations and coalitions. The episode on coalitions might be particularly useful as you think about your group's role within a broader environmental context. Perhaps cultivating onions is exactly what you should be doing if no one else is filling that gap. For questions or more information, feel free to connect with us on the following platforms.